Well, hello everyone, and welcome back. This is Veteran Mountain Man on another Spiritual Thursday, and we're going to continue discussing the concept that primitive cultures were socialist. And so I wanted to discuss today kind of the tribes in Montana region, particularly the Blackfoot, because they were known for private property, actually. And I also want to discuss the ideas of some of the Aztec concepts. Now, while it is true that many of the Aboriginal tribes or native tribes to North America were very much small family tribe style units, they were not exactly socialists. Unlike many popular theorists in the softer sciences and in the humanities currently teaching in universities. And so I want to take a look at John Locke here to kind of help you understand what it is I'm talking about. So in Locke's two treatises, he discusses the labor put a distinction between them and common. That added something to them more than nature, the common mother of all, had done, and so became private right. Now, what he's talking about here is, earlier in that section, he's discussing how does the nourishment of an apple that a man picked become only his nourishment in private, because he picked it from a public location. And what he's discussing is the fact that after the man eats the apple, he is the only one who gains any benefit from it. And the act of picking the apple, the act of the labor that is involved in gathering the apple to then feed himself, gives him the private property reserve to then enjoy the fruits of said labor, which was, in this case, the apple. Now, this is the first concept of private property. And I know it sounds very primitive and very kind of esoteric, but this is eventually what allowed the understanding and parceling of land for individual farming needs and such of that nature later on. And Locke actually describes how that evolution occurs. But many of the native tribes saw this the same way. When we take the Blackfoot and the Blackfeet, who were far more nomadic, they took the idea that the act of the labor of either gathering the food or resources made those resources yours. So if you had something such as a jacket that you took off of a U.S. cavalryman that you shot, that jacket belonged to you, because your actions in battle gave you that trophy. And so it was your property. It wasn't the tribes and commons' property. And the idea that just because they lived on a communal land, which they all shared, didn't mean that they didn't require private property in their own rights. Family units that were part of the tribe individually made sure their families got fed, by in turn making sure that they had plenty of labor on the resources to ensure that they had the food that they needed. This is how tribal society moved from the basic concepts of tribalism to a bit more advanced bartering society. We got to the point where we became so efficient in gathering food that other people could pursue other aspects because not as much labor was needed. That is the only reason. And so to try to state that a tribal unit was actually socialist would have actually meant that society never progressed, and art and entertainment and storytelling wouldn't have had time for. Because in socialist concepts and in socialism, the identity of work takes precedence over the identity of leisures, because everybody has to contribute equally, because everybody is already getting everything equally, and nobody can be above anyone else. And there can't be any efficiency, because the efficiency creates leisure, and the leisure creates a lack of need for labor, and creates other things that aren't labor. So, I want to thank you all again for joining me on this. I know that this is rather esoteric and difficult for a lot of people to follow, so I won't be upset if you're not quite sure what I was talking about here, because this gets really, really deep into the philosophical sides. However, if you do like what I'm doing here, especially on these Spiritual Thursday sections, please like and subscribe. Follow me on unapologeticpagan.com or on Minds or YouTube or VidMe or all of the above, including Patreon. I can always use the additional support. If you've got a topic recommendation for me, please leave it in a comment at one of these locations, and I will take a look at it and see if I can get to it. Thank you all again for joining me on this wonderful Thursday, and have a nice day.